But yeah, if you could blend it yourself and make it yourself, that's a part of Ayurveda too. You're making the medicine, you're making the tea yourself, and you're becoming a part of the process, and it becomes a lifestyle instead of having it just ready-made and you don't think about it. If you're getting in the kitchen and doing it yourself, you're bringing some consciousness and awareness into it, and it just makes it all that much better.
Namaste. You're listening to the Savannah Podcast. Join us on an exploration of Eastern spirituality, yoga philosophy, and conscious living for the new age. This podcast is a production of SavannahSpirit.com, where you can find a large selection of Om and yoga clothing, spiritual jewelry, and unique fair trade gifts from the Far East. Now here's your host, Ashton Szabo.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Savannah Podcast. I'm your host, Ashton Szabo. Now, at the time of our recording today, it's summer, and it's been extremely hot recently. We've had days up in the 90s and hundreds. In summertime, in general, people are going outside more. They're doing a lot more outdoor activities. But because of the excess temperatures and heat, people often suffer from health effects from that heat. It can affect our overall health and well-being. And the skin as well often reflects what's going on inside of the body. So today we're going to talk about some things you can do to cope with the excess heat, some things that you can do to help maintain some healthy and radiant skin throughout the hot months. Our guest is Trudy Collings. She's an Ayurvedic practitioner, masseuse, and herbalist. She's the co-owner of Paavani Ayurveda, a company that specializes in Ayurvedic skincare products. And she's also a yoga teacher. Trudy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashton, for having me.
So what inspired you to learn about Ayurveda?
Well, I initially got into Ayurveda through my interest of yoga, and I was always interested in traditional ecological knowledge through different cultures and just understanding more about herbalism. And I just came across Ayurveda just reading somebody's yoga biography about 5 or 6 years ago, and I immediately was like, what is Ayurveda? And when I learned it was the sister science to yoga, it's the health lifestyle aspect of yoga, it's traditional Indian medicine, I just knew I wanted to study it right away, and I enrolled in the California College of Ayurveda.
Now, for people that might not be as familiar with Ayurveda, can you give a brief description of what it is and perhaps give a quick explanation of the doshas as well?
Sure. Ayurveda, like I just said, is traditional Indian medicine, and it dates back to about 5,000 years ago. It is what Chinese medicine actually stemmed off of. The Buddha actually had an Ayurvedic doctor. And you can still find Ayurvedic universities, medical universities in India. There's still Ayurvedic doctors there, and Ayurveda is becoming more and more popular here. And some of the main principles in Ayurveda is built upon the doshas. And the doshas are biological energies found throughout the human body and the mind. And the doshas are derived from the 5 elements and their related properties. So Vata is composed of ether and air. Pitta is comprised of mainly fire and a little bit of water. And Kapha is composed of earth and water. So we have the 5 elements that Ayurveda works with, from the most subtle to the most gross: ether, air, fire, water, and earth.
And in contrast to more Western medicine, which is kind of more, in a sense, emergency medicine. So you get sick and then you have drugs to take, or you get injured and there's a surgery for something to help with that. But Ayurveda is more of a holistic approach, correct? Like it's looking more at the health of the body and how to make it thrive rather than just how to make it not sick. Is that right?
Correct. Yes. Ayurveda literally means knowledge of life. Veda means knowledge, and Ayu means life. So it really gives you the tools you need to stay healthy so you can work towards your spiritual goals and just work on kind of evolving and growing as a person in your life. And yeah, it just gives you lifestyle practices that you can bring into your daily life. So yeah, it's very different. It can be complementary care to diseases that people might be experiencing, but it deals a lot with preventative medicine, and that's what we specialize in at Paavani.
I think that was the word I was looking for earlier, preventative medicine. Absolutely. Now, you're an herbalist, so what are some herbs that people can use to help cool their bodies during all the heat of the summer months?
So some herbs that I love to recommend for the summertime would definitely be hibiscus. It's something that can be used as a tea, and it's really simple to combine just some dry hibiscus with peppermint and calendula. Those are all herbs that are really cooling, and hibiscus in particular works as an alterative, which cools the blood. And that'll keep you cool and calm and collected during the summertime. Other ones I really like are Gotu Kola, which is rich in vitamin C, has antioxidants, and it's a really bitter herb. Even if you smell it or taste it, it tastes bitter, and that's what you're looking for with an herb in the summertime, something that's cooling, bitter, that's going to counterbalance the heat and the fire that's coming up in the external world.
Now, with the hibiscus that you mentioned as well, you mentioned teas. Now, we actually make like a sun tea all the time with hibiscus tea. Is the best way to do something like that with like a tea that you buy, hopefully organic from the store, or is it better to find the flowers themselves and dry them? Like, what do you recommend for people that want to start taking some hibiscus teas?
Yeah, that would be amazing if you could grow them yourself and harvest them and dry them. That, of course, would be the most optimal way of doing this. But if they were looking at purchasing the herbs, you could go to maybe your local co-op and see in your bulk section if they have hibiscus, peppermint, calendula, and yeah, you could make a sun tea out of that. Just put it in a jar of water, a mason jar, and let it sit outside. Some other great companies that you could order some bulk herbs from would be Banyan Botanicals, Mountain Rose Herbs, and Star West Botanicals. But yeah, if you could blend it yourself and make it yourself, that's a part of Ayurveda too. You're making the medicine, you're making the tea yourself, and you're becoming a part of the process, and it becomes a lifestyle instead of having it just ready-made and you don't think about it. If you're getting in the kitchen and doing it yourself, you're bringing some consciousness and awareness into it, and it just makes it all that much better.
So the heat of summer, is that kind of directly connected to excess inflammation in the body? How is that working? Is it just the temperatures or the foods that tend to be out? Can you explain a little bit of that for us?
Yeah, when it gets hot out, Pitta naturally rises in the body. The fire element's naturally going to rise. During the end of springtime, it's considered Pitta accumulation. So Pitta is already going to start to accumulate, and it's going to get hot in the body. And when we're running around, there's lots of energy in the summertime. People are trying to accomplish work goals, trying to have fun with their friends, being outdoors. So yeah, all of this activated energy can increase the heat in the body.
And in terms of I mentioned the skin earlier, because I know that's a big thing of heat coming out through the skin. Do you recommend any herbs that people could use to perhaps help with that happening to their skin during the summer?
Yeah, there's some great herbs for inflammation in the skin. I would recommend coriander, and you could use coriander powder if you just made a little paste for that, maybe with a little bit of rose water, and apply it to affected areas that are feeling inflamed or irritated. That could be really nice. Coriander as well, if you just juice the fresh leaves and you even drank the juice, it's going to have a cooling effect on the body. And you could also use the remaining leaves as a poultice. And chamomile is also really nice for inflammation. That's something that you could use topically, or you could also include it in a tea. Another really popular one for inflammation would be red sandalwood. And I know, Ashton, you've spent some time in Thailand and in the East. So did you ever see like red sandalwood paste, how people put it across their face just to protect from the sun and it cools the skin down? Did you ever see that?
I didn't know that it was for necessarily cooling the skin, but absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, the red sandalwood's really great. It cools the skin. It's an acne preventative. It evens skin tone, exfoliates the skin as well, and controls oiliness. So all of those things, acne, oiliness, inflammation, irritated skin, sometimes hives, burns, those are all pitta type skin symptoms. So red sandalwood could be an excellent ally for you to have in your kitchen or in your herb drawer.
Well, and you mentioned it as a paste. How does one get the paste?
Usually you just combine the ground powder with water, or I would recommend rose water because rose just has a really cooling, moisturizing, nourishing effect, especially for skin that is experiencing inflammation. And you could also mix it, if you wanted to, a little bit of water or rose water with a little bit of honey. Manuka honey is the best for the skin, with some red sandalwood or coriander or turmeric. Turmeric's really great. And you just make this nice consistency that isn't too thick that it's not going to go on, but it's going to go on nice and even. And then you kind of just let it dry, and then you can just wipe it off with some cool water. And just kind of have that direct experience with the herbs is the best way to learn about them and how they work for you.
Well, for people that might not have an amazing co-op, nearby them, and perhaps they just have their typical kind of grocery store. Is this the type of thing, the sandalwood paste, that they could find somewhere like that, or is this more likely than they'd have to go online to order something like that?
Yeah, something that's a bit more unique, like sandalwood, that you wouldn't find maybe in your culinary herb aisle in your grocery store. You might need to seek out, like at a co-op, if you don't have a co-op, maybe online. But if you're having trouble finding some of the more obscure herbs, I would definitely recommend using what you have available. And there's so many culinary herbs that we think of as culinary herbs and spices that are great for topical application on the skin. I already mentioned turmeric, coriander, cumin's really nice as well. Some other herbs, chamomile could be nice, and calendula. Calendula you can grow in your yard. It loves full sun. It's a type of marigold. It grows really well where I live. So you could kind of start thinking about, maybe I want to include some of these herbs that are good for my skin outside in my garden next year. Give it a go this year.
Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of diet, what sort of foods should people try to avoid during the hot summer months?
So, foods to avoid is anything that increases the heat or the fire in your body. So if you think about it, what increases the heat? Definitely anything that's tomato-based, like tomato sauce is extremely heating, whereas a fresh tomato isn't as heating. But I would avoid tomato sauce-based things. Fried foods for sure. They can be a little too oily and heavy and heating for the summertime. Alcohol is very heating for people. Hot sauces. I used to love hot sauce. I'm pitta predominant, and I stopped eating the hot sauce because it was making my pitta a little bit imbalanced. So anything that's too heating would be, fried foods, vinegar-based things, pickles, hot peppers, hot sauces, excessively oily things.
We're talking about hot for a second too with the foods, and I'm curious. I've heard a lot about too, especially in regards to Ayurveda, that they kind of discourage drinking cold water. So if not hot, at least room temperature. Can you kind of explain a little bit as to why it's not such a good idea to drink cold water? It's like, oh, it's summertime, it's so hot, I want a cold drink of water. Why is it kind of better to grab for the room temperature water?
Yeah, Ayurveda does recommend that. And cold water, according to Ayurveda, we have what's they call Agni, which is our digestive fire. And if you're drinking ice cold water, it's going to just put out that fire, and then you aren't going to be able to digest anything very well. So you want to maintain equanimity in your digestive system. So you want room temperature water, nothing that's going to put the Agni out, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And what are some foods that people we've talked about herbs, but specifically, what are some foods that people could eat to help cool their bodies during the summer months?
Oh, yeah, definitely anything with leafy greens. You want to increase the bitter, astringent qualities in foods. So leafy greens are very bitter. They're very cooling. They're great for your skin as well. Purifying. It'll help to clear the skin, clear toxicity out that might be sitting around in the body. Any type of yummy fruits. You just want to think about eating seasonally. Like right now, red raspberries and blueberries and strawberries and peaches and melons. Anything like watermelon has so much water, right? So you want to think of hydrating during the summertime. So I would say leaning towards just seasonal fare, seasonal vegetables. If you do eat meat, avoiding saltwater fish because the salt can increase the heat in your body. Leaning more towards cooling meats could be good. And cooling meats, actually beef is cooling meat. I don't really eat meat, but if you're going that route, you could look into that, the cooling meats. And yeah, just anything that's not overly oily or overly fried, anything like that. You want to keep it fresh. It's a good time to just eat. Ayurveda doesn't love eating raw, but this would be the time, the spring and the summer months, to have those fresh juices, have those smoothies.
And do you have any other tips for just overall lifestyle for people to that they could practice during the months to help keep them cool as well? Some basic things for the everyday person that might help?
Yeah, I think I wanted to mention too, Ashton, and this goes along with what you just asked, is with culinary herbs, with spices, cumin, coriander, fennel. That could be a great thing if you just had cumin, coriander, fennel powder, and you just mix that up. Keep it in a Ziploc bag, and you just kind of carry it around with you so you're able to spice whatever you're eating, and it's going to be pitta pacifying for you. Other tips for pitta season would definitely be avoiding, if you practice yoga, avoiding really fast, strong, hot, sweaty Ayurveda or yoga classes, vinyasa classes during like the peak hot time of day. You want to maybe avoid that because that can increase your pitta. And just keeping cool, keeping calm, trying to not engage in anything that could get your pitta rising, like any debate. Maybe avoiding. Yeah.
Got to avoid Facebook right now with all the politics going on.
Yeah, I've really been feeling that. I've been getting agitated, and it's definitely because it's pitta time. I'm predominantly pitta, so maybe taking a step back from things like that. If you start to notice that you're getting a little bit irritable and you don't know why, it could just be pushing you in that direction. And another Ayurvedic lifestyle tip could be maybe having warm to room temperature fresh lemon water first thing in the morning. It's going to alkalinize your system. Pitta type people can suffer from hyperacidity. So if you're having lemon water in the morning, that can help alkalinize the body and have a nice effect throughout the day.
Well, and interesting to note there, because we're talking about acids, a lot of people tend to think something like lemon, because it seems acidic, that it would make you more acidic, but it actually has the opposite effect in the body. So when you're eating something acidic like that, it actually helps to alkalize the body.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting when I learned that about lemon too, because I would immediately think it was acidic.
Yeah. So fall is eventually coming around the corner here. I have the feeling it's going to be kind of a long, late summer, but the fall will eventually come. And when it does, do you have any suggestions for people to prepare for the fall? So obviously there's a kind of a different set of things you want to do in the fall, but in that transition as we're moving from the really hot days to perhaps cooler nights, longer nights, what could people do to help them with that transition?
So I would recommend maybe trying to, as the days become shorter, start to wind down your day a little bit earlier. So you're preparing yourself for the shorter days and longer nights. That's going to help just ground your vata out. And that's what you want to do when we're in this transitional period, moving out of summer, late summer, moving into early fall. You want to work on grounding vata. So anything that's grounding would be, getting to bed earlier. If you have a hard time going to bed, maybe you could have some warm almond milk and nutmeg and cinnamon with like a teaspoon of ghee. That's super grounding, really nourishing. You want to start nourishing, grounding, bringing a little bit more warmth into the body because you're preparing for the colder fall and winter months that lie ahead.
Awesome. Where can people find out more about the work that you do? I know you have a product line as well of a lot of different awesome things. Where's the best place to find out about all that?
Yeah, you can find us on the internet. Our website is www.paavaniayurveda.com. And we also have Instagram, which is Paavani Ayurveda, and our Facebook as well is Paavani Ayurveda. And I think that's the best way of getting a hold of us.
And it is Paavani, correct? With two A's there.
Yes, it's not the best ideal business name because people are like, what? What is that? How do you spell it? But it actually means purity, and, we're working towards purifying your life, purifying the skin. So it worked for that. But
Wonderful. And you guys have skincare products, you have teas, you have all kinds of stuff, correct?
Yeah, we have a dosha-specific skincare line that we've spent, like 2.5, 3 years developing, and we've taken a lot of time making the products, making sure we're using herbs that are specific for the Ayurvedic skin types. So it's pretty fun making those. And actually, if people are more interested in learning about actions of herbs more than what we talked about today, if you go to our website, there's a page for ingredients, and under the ingredients is just showing you the benefits of each herb. It's like a herbal glossary.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure we'll write down it in the show notes as well for if anyone's driving or anything like that of Paavani Ayurveda. But it's been great. I really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing all of your knowledge and your passion of Ayurveda. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Ashton.
And for all our listeners out there, I hope you've learned a lot. I hope you have some new ideas and things you can use to help cool yourself down in the hot summer months. I'm going to be doing these things the next couple of weeks because I think it's supposed to stay in the 90s here where I live. So I need something to help me cool me down. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you all have a wonderfully present moment. Namaste. Hey everybody, thanks for listening to the show today. Please go over to iTunes, write a review, let us know what you think. It helps us in creating new content for all of you. It also helps new listeners get a sense of what to expect from the show. We really appreciate your feedback. Thanks again for listening. Namaste.
You've been listening to the Savana podcast. To find out more about Savana, go to savanaspirit.com or follow Savana on Facebook at facebook.com/Savana Spirit. For daily inspiration, check out our blog at savanaeast.com. Be sure to join us next week for a new episode, and thank you for listening to the Savana podcast.